Avril Lavigne. Whoa. All right, here she comes. Mary Poppins, Maria from The Sound of Music, Shrek's mother-in-law. She's done it all. Also an author, and a new book is called Home, a memoir of my early years. Please welcome Julie Andrews. Everybody loves Julie Andrews.
We get so excited when you're coming.
I'm so happy. It makes me feel great. It makes my day.
Enjoyed the book so much.
I'm pleased.
Because we really don't know that much about how you grew up.
Well, that's the reason I made it a memoir of my early years. I thought maybe I could write about a little tiny piece of theater history that perhaps not too many people knew about, which is the early days, my early days in English vaudeville, and what it was like, and they were the dying days of vaudeville in England in those days.
But it was enough to get you up on stage?
Well, it gave me a great background. I did all my training.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that I always thought that when I think of you, I think of some British noble house, some aristocratic family.
Far from it.
I really was surprised.
Yeah, Kelly.
I really was.
Well, actually, she looked a little bit like you, growing up on the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
There she is right there. Early photo of
I think
Julie.
that's one of the first that was ever taken.
Grew up during World War II.
Yes, I was born almost into the war. Yeah.
And so you remember all the bombing of
and it was, I thought that's what everybody lived with, and you know, we did all the things everybody does, and did, and went into the subway, and went into the shelters at night.
That's right. We all saw that in American movies here.
Yes.
Parents divorced, your mom married the vaudeville man you were talking about.
She married this gentleman here,
and he's the guy that kind of...
got me started,
that's
really.
Right.
He is the guy that gave me early singing lessons.
And she worked on all the stages, as she said, and the BBC as well.
Incredible.
And did you always sing? You always
Yes,
were a singer?
I think from about 7 years old onwards, my stepfather suddenly discovered that I had this really freak voice. I mean, it was a 4-octave range, and I could do these gymnastics with it that would, you know, bring dogs from all the neighboring areas that would howl. And but then he very smartly realized that perhaps I'd better have a good teacher, a good singing teacher.
It's great that he was listening to you.
Well,
really.
he was a singer himself. He was part of a vaudeville act with my mother, and he had a fine tenor voice. And he was a complicated man, and unfortunately he was an alcoholic later in his years, but he did some kind things to me as well.
And there's the house you grew up
We all eventually moved to this house, and that became what I call the first real home of my childhood.
And you became the breadwinner of the family.
Yes, I did. Yeah, well, they kind of overinvested and didn't know what to do, and so we all pitched in, and eventually
It's got
that's
a lot
what
of
happened.
pressure for a young girl.
But you know what, it also gave me a tremendous identity. I didn't know who I was or what I was doing, and with having a new stepfather and all of that, it was great to have a singing voice and to be, at least, to be able to do something.
So then when you came to New York and turned Broadway upside down, I think it was like in the late 50s, 56, 57.
About 54 I came, yeah.
My Fair Lady. People said, well, where did this girl come from, and how did she get this voice? That's why. That's how you got
the
that
early
voice.
training, yeah.
But
and I talk about My Fair Lady in the book.
Oh, you sure do. When we come back, we'll talk about it right here. In just a moment. Julie Andrews just picked up several bouquets of flowers. I thought just for a minute they were for us, but no, never for us.
Not for us.
Here's the book we're talking about. It's called Home, Julie Andrews, the early years. And now here you are on stage. Let's see, you were the first Cinderella in Rodgers and Hammerstein's
I
great
was
show.
the first Cinderella, but actually this picture was taken when I was Cinderella in London, in an English production.
Right.
Yeah.
So going on stage on Broadway, was that tough? Was that
It was
scary?
terrifying
Yeah.
and daunting and wonderful, and I was lucky enough to be blessed
you must have
by...
been like 20 years old.
I was 19 when I first appeared in my first show on Broadway.
Do you have any, like, backstage jitters? Do you get very
Terribly,
ill?
and it's still present. I mean, it gets worse, actually.
You actually said in the book that it took you like 3 months to get comfortable with all your lines because you're working with like Rex Harrison
With
right
Rex
here.
Harrison right there, yeah. Well, if you're in If you're blessed enough to be in a long run, the first 3 months you're still relearning, you're still finding a way.
Sure.
The next 3 months you're refining, and the next 3 months you're finding all the little details, counter melodies in the orchestra, and the last 3 months are pure slog.
Now, was it difficult with him? Because I understand he had a reputation. He was a perfectionist.
He was difficult. He was perhaps it was slightly selfish man, but the secret to Rex is that he was incredibly talented, and when all was said and done, as they say, he cut the mustard. He could do it, and to watch him on stage every night, I would forget who I was sometimes.
What an enormous, enormous hit that was. Lerner and Lowe.
Here.
No, no, no.
That's okay.
No, no. No, no. I can't believe we just let Julie Andrews do that.
Well, I didn't want you to miss one. Are you kidding?
That's funny. Julie Andrews looked down and said, "Oh, that's a good one. I'll get that."
That's my favorite.
Right. Speaking of leading men, and then came Camelot, Richard Burton, and Robert Goulet, two dazzlingly
Yeah, and we've lost
handsome
Robert
men.
recently,
Yes,
and
we
it's so
did.
sad. And
So now here's another
Richard's
one, Richard
gone. Yeah,
Burton.
that was taken on opening night of Camelot.
Here you are with these older, experienced men, and you're still
Delicious
a young
guys, yeah,
child.
yeah.
You're a young child, Julie.
Well, they were wonderful, and as I say, I did work with giants.
And I remember getting the albums to both these Broadway shows,
Sure.
and playing them over and over again.
I think in the old days with the great musicals, you took the album home with you like a new friend, and
Yes.
you wanted to have it for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to pause one more time, come back, and with Julie Andrews.